I'm gonna. Ladies and gentlemen, as part of the Jeremiah Show, welcome to It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack. Now here's the host of the show, a man who only went to one autograph show in his life, lasted 2 hours, and left with less money than he came in with. It's TV's Tim Stack. Yay, me! Episode 7, I think, of It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack. We are building a library. So the autograph story, I think I've told this before, but and my guest may chime in here before I introduce him.
I have a thought.
If he's ever been to an autograph show. So autograph shows are where celebrity, putting in quotes, celebrities come and people mill around and they sign autograph. You pay celebrities cash in person to sign an autograph, to sign the autograph. Jamie, you're familiar with these things, right?
I am familiar. Yes.
Okay. So
only once, just like you, only once.
Oh, they're the most humiliating. It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, but here's what happened with me is Lynn Stewart, who you know well, and Cindy Williams, they said, we just went to Chicago and we made a lot of money doing an autograph show. And I thought, really, that's Cindy I gotta get. But Lynn, who's not a huge star, made like a bunch of money, cash. And then she said, why don't you do this one in Studio City in a couple of weeks? And I thought, and at the time, Son of the Beach is on, and there's a lot of hype, because of Howard Stern. And they said, and the three of us will sit together the whole day. So I said, okay, great, let's do it. So I sign up for the thing and I get an invite and I'm on the list of celebrities. And of course, that morning, as I'm driving down from Santa Barbara to Studio City, Cindy cancels. She got some gig, and Lynn has the flu.
Oh no! Oh no!
So I'm by myself in the middle of the autograph show, and I look to my left, and there's Corey Feldman to my left, and across the way is Paul Lamont, the actor from American Graffiti, who had been an Oscar nominee. And then I'm looking around who's at this convention, and it's all sort of like, wow, these are people I grew up with, like watching on Rin Tin Tin, are there signing autographs for $5. So I put out, Lynn tells me what to do, and she's calling me and she got the flu, put out the pictures and then tell them how much you charge. I said, well, how much for a picture? She goes, charge $20 for a picture, an autograph picture. I said, oh, yeah. So the thing starts and customers come in, and what happens is they look at it's. I compared it like if you're a prostitute in Amsterdam and you're in one of those windows.
Window.
Yes, that's what it's like. They're coming by and they're shopping. They're looking at you. They're looking at your pictures. They're looking at your prices, and most of them move on. They just, no, we're not interested. Then a woman comes up. She goes, $20 for a picture. I went, yeah, 20. I'll give you $13. I said, here, take a picture. So I just give her the picture. And then I start just giving them out. Corey Feldman's getting angry at me for that.
Because you're undercutting the market.
I'm undercutting the market. They're free pictures over here.
Yeah.
So then finally, I literally asked an hour. One woman she's going to pay me with change. She has quarters with her and she wants to. I just said, I'm done. And I tell the guy who runs the autograph show, I said, I'm out of here. This isn't for me. It's not working out. You lasted an hour. And he's really upset with me that I'm leaving. But I couldn't take it. The guy whose line, I literally, somebody paid me $20. I turned around and gave that to Vern Troyer, Mini-Me.
Mini-Me. Mm-hmm.
So he would make an autograph for my kids. And then I left. So I left with less money than I came in with. Anyway.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So tell your autograph story and then we'll introduce you.
Okay.
Now let me introduce you first.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll introduce you. Okay. This is a long introduction. I have a lot of pages, incidentally, on you.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
No, there's 4 pages. It's all single space. There's a lot of stuff.
Tim, we've lived lives.
Yeah. That's really true, isn't it? Yeah. Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
We will get into that. So, Okay, Dr. D with a drum roll. Okay, my guest. He started out as an actor, most famous for playing Hoover, the president of the Delta House and Animal House, the iconic comedy, which I want to talk about. Then TV series Delta House, which wasn't great, but you made a lot of lifelong friends in that show, got you to Los Angeles. Then the series Charles in Charge, but then he made a choice and became a director. And he has directed well over 500 episodes of television. That's insane when you think about the reality of that.
Yeah.
Including shows Two and a Half Men and Mom, and a ton of TV movies and pilots. And I want to talk about your ranking in terms of TV directors. But anyway, here he is, Mr. Jamie Widdoes.
Bravo.
Big applause.
Thank you for that introduction, Tim.
Well,
you know more than most.
Well, IMDb is a big help, but I do know more than most.
Yeah.
So we'll get it. I want to do everything, but tell the jury if you have an autograph.
Okay. Well, yeah. First of all, I need to know who the 6 previous guests were, so I know exactly where I stand.
You ranked number 1. I Barry Finero, John.
I was hard to get. I know. You had to move through 6 until I'd say yes. Anyway.
I am calling in favors from everybody. I don't want to talk to somebody I don't know. That's what it really comes down.
Oh, yeah, that's when you know you've hit the bottom.
When I'm reaching out to people I don't know. So no, I'm calling in favors.
All right. So autograph show. I get a call, another mutual friend of ours, Tim Matheson.
Uh-huh.
So Tim calls me up and he says, would you be interested? They're going to do like an Animal House.
Oh, at like a Comic-Con.
Well, it was an autograph show. It was at the Westin Hotel by LAX, where everybody goes.
Right.
And it's a giant autograph show. And I said, Tim, Tim's still and a wonderful actor, but Tim's still in front of the camera and looks like he could be and should be, as opposed to some of us.
You got hair though. I've told you that's a commodity.
That's true. I could really, I could go places, kid. I could really. Anyway, so I say no, thank you.
Yeah.
And he emails me back and he says, I promise you're going to make some money here. He said, last time I did it, I can't remember what the number was, but it might have been $20,000.
And it's cash.
Yeah. And it's $20,000 cash, which of course we're broadcasting now.
Yeah.
To the world.
No, don't worry about that. Yeah. This is my podcast.
This goes to your home.
Maybe the kids will watch it. If I pay them, the kids will watch it.
Right. Okay. So I show up. No. So I finally said, okay, because coincidentally that night, I was going to go with another mutual friend of ours, Peter, in San Francisco.
Uh-huh.
We were going to Las Vegas for one night, not my favorite place in the world, but to see Kix Brooks and Ronnie Dunn.
Oh, that's cool.
Because we know Kix. So we were going to go see him playing with Reba, who I also know because I did her pilot, Reba. So I'm like, okay, well, it makes sort of an odd sense. I'll drive down to the Westin by LAX. Then I'll just go over to LAX and hop my plane to Vegas. And,
at worst, you get free parking at the hotel.
What I didn't realize was that by the time this afternoon was finished at the autograph show, I really should have stopped somewhere and taken a shower first. I felt so dirty.
Yeah. The crowd is just it's unbelievable at these things.
So we get there, and it was a bunch of us, which was good. That's what helps, Tim.
Yes.
The critical mass of other people, so people aren't walking by you going, "Who are you?"
Right. And you're with other guys from Animal House, and it's truly an iconic movie. And I know you guys are still tight, and it's fun, and the whole ensemble.
And it was a great turnout. I think Tim was there, Bruce McGill was there, I think Riegert was there, Mark Metcalf, who was Niedermeyer, I think he was there. and I think Martha Smith and a couple of the women were there. Anyway, so this thing starts. I came through some kind of a promoter. I think he might have been the guy putting the whole thing together. He might have been the same guy that yelled at you.
There's a guy in like some weird town in Florida who organized.
Yes, I think that's what it is. And so anyway, I didn't have to do a thing. There were pictures of me on the table.
Right.
8x10s. I don't know where he got them. I don't know, whatever. And there was literally there was a price board behind me of everything. It was just the
it's prostitution.
Thank you. It is. And I'm like, really? You're going to pay me $20 for a picture of this guy who doesn't exist anymore? I did it for about 2.5 hours, 3 hours. And then we were like, okay, so you can take a meal break, which I think is to the restaurant in the Westin, where I think they would give us like a $30 credit.
Oh, sure. This is getting worse.
That didn't buy enough drinks, I'll tell you. But honest to God, I left after 3 or 4 hours at this table. I cashed out with about, I think I had $5,000 or $6,000.
Oh, you did well. That's good for you. Which is great. You're going to Vegas then.
And I was going to Vegas.
That's perfect.
So the perfect end of the story was, it's dirty money.
Right.
Where else to lose dirty money?
Right.
Than one night in Las Vegas.
You didn't have to go to an ATM in Vegas.
Lost it all. Lost it all. Had a ball. Lost it all. Let's put $500 on black.
Why not?
Just for fun.
Right.
It's not my money.
Only cost me 15 signatures. What do I care? Little carpal tunnel. Who cares?
That's right.
But okay, so let's talk about. I really, and you and I have known each other for so many years. But when I'm going through IMDb, I was looking at all, and I literally counted them all up, and it was something like 521 half hours.
I think it's actually higher. I think it's closer to 700.
And then you throw in some TV movies and single camera stuff
and pilots.
And pilots.
They're not always in there. Yeah.
So here's my question.
Yeah.
I'm assuming Jimmy Burrows is number one, like on all-time batting average list.
Yep.
Like that's the number.
Yep.
And then I was thinking Jerry Paris might be number two. Might be. Don't know. Happy Days, all those Laverne, all those shows that he, back then.
There were
Van Dyke and all those shows.
There were some great iconic guys. Don't forget Jay Sandrich.
Didn't think of Jay Sandrich.
Don't forget John Rich, All in the Family.
Yes.
I mean, back in those days, but Jimmy's
you're easily top 10.
Oh yeah, I think.
And but that's crazy. I mean, I'm not saying it's crazy that you don't deserve it, but it's a crazy in terms of show business, of the ability to attain anything in show business. That's a crazy number. Well, and that's on you. I mean, that is totally your doing, which I want to, how that all started and all that stuff. But kudos, congrats. It's really, and I don't think people talk about that. I love to just, as we mentioned, a long life. It's like the realities of show business.
Yeah.
When you think that you've accomplished that in the realities of show business,
right?
It's pretty crazy.
Right. It is, and it's it's been a great ride. I mean, when you do the math on it, for example, I think I was with Chuck Lorre, 2.5 Men recently, and he said, how many 2.5 Men did you do? And I said, well, Chuck, apparently it turns out, he said, we did 240. And I said, yeah, I know. I did 164 of them.
It's wild.
Yeah. He said, really? I said, yeah, you kept asking me back. I don't know why.
Clearly it was working. Clearly they were happy on the floor and they were happy in the office, which I also want to talk about, you being the TV director.
Right.
is the ultimate messenger. People don't realize that. Like, you have a group of people to deal with on the floor, and then you have a group of people to deal with in the office, the writers, and that ability to balance those two is clearly part of the job.
Yeah. Yeah, it's exactly right. That's exactly what it is. You are the in between.
But at the same time, you've got to shoot a show and block it and make it funny.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're not coming. So
you're not coming back.
You're not coming back. If it's not funny, you're not coming back.
Right.
And you've got to be that messenger who can get between. And that's a special skill. That's, so.
Yeah.
Okay, I just got the signal. We're going to take our first break.
Oh, there are breaks here too?
Oh, yeah. This is like legit radio.
So we're paying the bills now. This is what we call it in the trade.
You
we pay the bills.
Yeah. As much as I made on that autograph show, that's what $11. That's what I'm making. Okay, we're going to take a break. It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack talking to Jamie Widdoes, and we'll be right back.
Nicely done. Nicely done. All right. And I'm
Okay.
going to play this track for you.
People are flocking.
Yes. Well, we'll hopefully they don't leave droppings. Here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Larry Kroger, all in favor?
We need the dues.
Good. Larry Kroger is now pledged to Delta Tau Chi. Next slide, please, D-Day. Just a minute. Just settle down. This is Ken Dorfman. He's a legacy from Harrisburg.
From Harrisburg. That, of course, was one of the how many iconic scenes from Animal House. But that was Jamie Widdoes as Hoover. Welcome back. It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack is here. So I want to talk. Let's get into Animal House because.
Yeah.
But let's go back a little bit before that. So you grew up in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Not really synonymous with show business.
Correct.
And what's with that Pittsburgh accent? What is that thing?
Dude, well, it's a little like Philly.
A little Philly, but then there's something else going on.
Yeah, no, out there, we open it up a little more expansive. So you go downtown.
Downtown.
You go downtown, but you can't go downtown until you do the wash at home. You got to do the wash, and you got to red up the house.
So it's like Philly meets the Midwest a little. Is that?
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what Pittsburgh is and was. It was the gateway to the West. Yeah.
I had a great time. I don't think the city I was there 12 weeks on the show Sprung, which I'm going to pump now, is on Amazon Freevee.
Right.
I don't think that's the same city I was. The city you grew up in is not.
No.
The city I visited.
No. It's kind of a cool place.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it there.
Yeah.
I just thought, wow, this is what do they say, downtown? Well, how do they say that?
Downtown.
Yeah. I was downtown and it was fun.
Jens.
So anyway, you go to boarding school and then you go to eventually you end up at NYU.
Yes.
How did Animal House come about? Like, how did you get the audition for that?
Okay. Well, I left NYU in January of 75, a year early. And basically because I had sort of come to blows with the administration, they didn't like their acting students to go out in the summertime and work because they were very much, no, you need to stay in our bubble and don't develop bad habits, by going out and getting paid to act and stuff like that. And I just decided, no, I was ready. I had to go.
And when I'm going back even further now, when did you know you wanted to be an actor?
Well, I think when I left Loomis, where I went to boarding school, I knew I loved acting. I'd done about 3 or 4 plays in my last couple of years in high school. And so that first year of college, I was in the first male freshman class at Skidmore College in Saratoga Springs, New York.
That's
where because there weren't a lot of guys, I did a lot of plays.
Every part.
Yeah, things were good there.
Yeah.
And but I transferred. Oh, I knew I wanted to get serious about this, and
So
that
you-
meant
someplace that had a real program.
that meant either Carnegie Mellon, but I didn't want to go there because it was 5 minutes from where I grew up
Right.
in Pittsburgh, or NYU, or BU, or SMU had a great department. But there weren't that many, and you had
Right.
to audition to get into them.
Yes. I
So
remember
anyway,
failing
that was,
those in high school.
yeah. So then, so anyway, so I walked out the doors at NYU end of January '75. I had a job as a bartender in New York.
Uh-huh.
And what happened was I just started working. I worked 8 months in that first year in theater. I did children's theater, I did summer stock, I did a regional theater production of Taming of the Shrew.
Huh?
I cobbled together 8 months of work in the theater, but none of it in New York. And then the next year, God bless it, I started to get commercials.
Yes, you do. You always did very well with.
Yeah, and commercials are the thing that allow actors to stay in New York. Otherwise, you got to take whatever comes and yanks you off to, wherever.
Right. And back then, commercials paid some dough.
Oh, yeah. Apparently, you're right. I mean, I'm finding this out. It's not the same gig.
No. There are all these buyouts now, unless you're a celebrity and you're John Hamm and you're
Right.
progressive ads.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so I had about a year and a half of doing very well in commercials. So by then I had an agent. I had done a few things in New York. I did a part on a PBS miniseries with Bill Hurt. I did, I was starting to work a little bit. I did some off-Broadway shows, got paid for those. And in the spring of '77, I decided I'm not going to take a summer job this summer. I'm going to try and stay in New York for the summer. Just because. And as a result, I also turned down, here's some names for you. I turned down a national tour of South Pacific with Jane Powell and Howard Keel.
Oh my God. So you were going to be one of the sailors? Like
I was going to be
Mary is the girl.
I was going to be Billis or Stu Pot or one of those knuckleheads. And they called to offer me the job, and I said, you know what? I've thought about it, and I don't think I'm going to take it. And I got you'll never work again. I got all of that stuff.
Your agent's mad at you, and
and I said, no, I just want to stay in New York. That was probably in May. And then in June, I get a call from my agent one day saying, you got an audition at Universal on Wednesday afternoon. And I go Wednesday afternoon and read for this movie. I'd read for movies before. I just never got one.
Right.
And I go and audition for the head of casting in New York. And she said, I'm going to call you back tomorrow for Michael Chinich, who was the casting director. So I went back Thursday and read for Michael. Michael had the comment I'll never forget as I left the room. He said, I'm going to call you back tomorrow to read for John Landis and Maddie Simmons, the director and the producer. He said, I don't know, there's something about you. I don't know what it is. And I'm like, so I went back the next day, read for John and Maddie.
Right.
John said, that was, in John's voice, that was wonderful. And he said, we have to go back to LA. We're seeing some more people there. We will let you know in 2 weeks. Wow. And literally, and you know this, Tim, this never happens in show business.
That they called in 2 weeks?
2 weeks to the day.
Wow, that's funny.
Yeah. You got the movie. And that was
it. And you read for the part of Hoover. It was always
I read for Hoover.
You never read for any of the guys and
Nope. Nope. I read for Hoover. The character description being charmingly incompetent.
Uh-huh.
I rode that hard.
So until you became a director. So then once the cast comes to get like, then you get the part, they fly you out to LA for rehearsals.
Eugene, Oregon.
Oh, you went right to Eugene, Oregon.
I didn't know where I was going. Literally, I get the part. It's July of 77. And basically, I'm going to report to Eugene, Oregon. I don't even think they knew it was Eugene yet. They were desperately trying to find a college still to let them in. And I was going to get a plane ticket to late September to Eugene, and that's where I arrived.
And so everybody arrives at the same time. You don't know any of these people. You don't know Tim Matheson at this point, McGill.
No, the seven Deltas,
right?
Which are the 5 older guys: John, Tim, me, Bruce, and Peter. And then the 2 pledges, Stephen First and Tom Hulse.
Right.
We arrived first. We arrived like on a Saturday or a Sunday. Immediately had dinner with Landis that night. He's looking around the table at all of us, and we're all getting along. And we're very clearly, it didn't take long to guess who was playing what.
Right. That's funny. It's really funny. I just love it.
Yeah. And John Belushi was going on and on about how nervous he was.
So he was there that first night.
Yeah. But his premise.
That was my other question is, was he, I mean, because at that point he's a star on Saturday Night Live.
Right.
Was that intimidating?
Yeah.
But he just like, it just kicked in and you guys became the Delta House.
Yeah, it just kind of did. It just kind of did. John was there that first weekend, first couple of days. We toured. We went all around, looked at the different locations. We did a table read, which was not a table read. We did a reading of the script Monday morning, the first morning.
Right.
In John Landis's hotel room at the Roadway Inn in Eugene. And, like people are sitting on the floor and things like that. And John's reading all the stage directions, and the stage directions in the script are as funny as anything. Again, you can't do this stuff anymore. But for example, when they get to the Dexter Lake Club, all the people who populate the Dexter Lake Club in the stage directions are referred to as sharks.
Sharks.
Another shark glides by. I mean, it's like we're in a shark tank.
Oh.
And all of them, they are the sharks.
Wow.
The shark behind the bar.
Because there's a joke in that scene that the primitive cultures would never apply today.
Yeah.
There's so many jokes. Well, that's a whole show.
But anyway, so we did that and we went around and we all got haircuts, which was a big to do. We went to some totally throwback barbershop on the main street of Eugene, Oregon.
Right.
And everybody that's where McGill got his, back
flat top thing.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if somebody had been documenting this, like how much fun that video would be filmed then?
Well, they did. There is documentation of this. There were people shooting it all the time.
Really? I'm going to look for that.
Yeah.
I don't know where. I mean, some of it still exists. And I know there are still pictures. I think I have still pictures of the haircut day.
Ugh.
But
so,
yeah.
Did you guys have any clue that it was going to be such a monster hit, or you just thought this is going to be funny?
Yeah, we're going to have fun with each other, and that was obviously now a million years later, you realize you have to approach things. You cannot approach it like this is a big hit.
Right.
You have to approach it for what it is in front of you, nothing more.
Also, I think if you approach it like this is, not that I've done a lot of stuff, but if you approach it like this is going to be a big hit, it's going to fail.
I know.
It's just too much pressure.
Yeah.
And how many pilots have you done where it's just like, you got these big stars.
We got the right package. We got everybody.
Whatever reason, it just tanks.
Yeah, exactly right. So that was that. And then John on Wednesday went back to New York
to do the show.
Took the red eye from San Francisco, arrives in New York, and this happened almost every week we were in Eugene. He would rehearse Thursday, Friday, Saturday, do the show Saturday night, back on a plane Sunday morning, back to San Francisco and up to Eugene. And then he'd shoot with us Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
And only a good guy. I waited on him once. He seemed like really
terrific,
fun, funny guy.
Terrific, fun, funny guy, and very much clean and sober at that point. Yeah.
I waited on him. This restaurant, it's still around in Amagansett, the Stephen Talk House. And his younger brother, Jim, was underage. And I said, hey, do you have, can I see an ID? And Belushi, I can't do it, but Belushi gives me, he looks at me and raises the eyebrow.
Oh, he raises that eyebrow.
He raises the eyebrow and I went, okay, he's cool.
It's the eyebrow that he raises when he's on the ladder.
Yeah.
Turning around, looking into the lens.
Yes. And I think he knew I had seen the movie 15 times and he raises the eyebrow. It's like, okay, yeah, fine. He can drink. I don't care how old he is. Okay, we're going to take another break, Dr. D. Okay. Jamie Widdoes is my guest on It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack, and we'll be right back.
Oh, love it. Love it, guys. Sounding good. Sounding really good. Go ahead. You talk to him and I'll line it up and we'll go.
Has there been like a reunion, like an interview reunion?
Yes. I think Showtime.
I'll look for that too.
I think Showtime did it. Somebody did it. That's not Fat, Drunk, and Stupid. That's Fat, Drunk, and Stupid is the one where I'm gonna find it right now.
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay, don't worry about it.
All right, here we go.
Okay, we're gonna jump in.
That's right. 3, 2, 1.
God, Charlie, you are great.
No.
I'm serious. You are the best lover I have ever had.
It's probably just the flawless technique and the big penis.
Probably.
That's as dirty as we're gonna get on this show.
Wow.
Sadly. It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack. I'm talking again to Jamie Widdoes here, director extraordinaire. One of the many shows he's done is 2.5 Men. That was Charlie Sheen in a scene. And you and I have talked a little bit, and we both sort of had the same, because I worked for him for 3 days and thankfully got fired. I've told you that story.
Yes.
But my take on him was I really felt bad for him, because I think he just is a crazy guy. Like, I thought my take on him was he is not a bad person. He just is nutty in a true mental illness sense.
Well, I also think, but I think you're right. I love Charlie.
Yeah.
I think he's great. He's been a friend to me. I hope I've been a friend to him. Charlie's got some demons.
Yeah.
And he's got some issues, and he's had to work through them. And that was a bad time for all of them, because he was less and less present. And let me tell you something. When Charlie was there was nobody funnier.
Right.
There was nobody smarter. There was no one who knew how to spin the joke with less effort.
Yes, the deadpan thing.
It was just unbelievable. And he was written to beautifully. I mean, Chuck and Lee and that group, and even at the end, even before we shut the show down, and he was only there sometimes 1 or 2 days in a week, once he learned the lines, he could still do it.
Right.
But it was just getting scary. I mean, we really were a little worried that he wasn't going to come in.
And I do want to talk about Chuck Lorre a little bit, because it's just, that is a whole other level of creativity that I don't understand. But is there any way those two guys would ever get back together? obviously it would start with Charlie saying, I am so sorry. I am so sorry.
Nothing is impossible. Nothing is forever. I've never seen a pig fly.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of damage.
Yeah.
There was a lot of damage done. And but look, and this is where I, Chuck has a, Chuck has a very, Chuck is very smart, and Chuck is also very, he understands forgiveness. And so I don't know. I mean, clearly it's up to them. It's not for me to
Right.
make.
No, I know. And
But,
it's like,
but
you don't even want to broach it. It's like, it's not
I
worth
mean,
it.
I'm such a
But as a
Pollyanna.
fan, I think like, oh man, wouldn't that be
Yes,
fun?
me too. And I'm such a Pollyanna that I'm like, yes, I think it would be so wonderful, and they should.
Right.
Because wouldn't we all love to enjoy that partnership again? So, yeah.
So, and Chuck Lorre. So here's what I don't get about him is that, like, back in the Miller Boyette days, and I worked on one of those shows, I worked on two of those shows as a writer. They're all the same show. Like,
Right.
and it's fine. It's, it's just churning out material. It's fine. People like them. They turn them on. They're harmless. The thing about the Chuck Lorre shows, they're all different.
Yeah.
Like 2.5 Men is not Big Bang. They are now, are there dirty jokes in that are really funny? Yeah, there's
Sure.
jokes in every show. But at the core of each show, they're all, Dharma and Greg they're all different. Mom is very different.
Yeah.
But here's my question. In your opinion, is there a does he have a formula that he knows he's going to be able, like, for example, I'm working for Greg Garcia. He knows he wants to do a show ultimately about karma, about people doing good.
Yes.
Does Chuck have a formula like that he knows he wants to instill in a show?
Well, I think like Greg, I think Chuck, every one of Chuck's shows needs to be about something and about somebody. And my observations of Chuck, there are a few of them, but first of all, I've never seen anybody more obsessed with every word.
Interesting.
Every word on that page is there for a reason.
And he's doing that for how many shows?
I know.
Like, there are 3, maybe 4 shows going at once?
Well, I worked with him at one point. I think he had 5. But he has a brilliant mind for the music, partially because he's a musician. And that's kind of, I think, one of the places that I found a lot of my connection with Chuck was I could hear the music in his words and where that and how that comedy should sing.
Right.
And so he's got that. But the other thing that he has is he has a very intensely clear idea of who every single one of those characters is and what literally what they eat for breakfast.
Right.
And why they eat it for breakfast and not lunch. I mean, he has thought these through to an extent. I mean, you use the Miller Boyettes and not to slight them at all.
No.
It was sort of a happy-go-lucky time then. Chuck brought a level of intense scrutiny to every word and every character. And then you inject what obviously every writer, every creator, every developer wants, which then you inject what is the point of view of the series? What am I trying to get across? And of course, for me, that was why the greatest experience I had with Chuck was frankly those 7 years on Mom, where for me, I would say to people when I went home at night, I think I'm so proud of being a part of this show. That's because right. That show was really, there were episodes of 2.5 Men where we were setting John Cryer's crotch on fire.
Right.
and you'd be going, I can't believe we're getting away with this.
Right.
And that it's so damn funny.
Right.
Mom, on the other hand, it's remarkable that we're taking a subject as deeply serious as sobriety.
Right.
And honesty and living an honest life. And we're getting jokes out of it. And we're actually getting the seriousness of the issue at the same time. It was very fulfilling.
So would you say that was the highlight of your career?
Well, I think probably for me, in terms of connection with content,
Yeah.
I loved 2.5 Men. Every week, what's coming down Main Street next? Because we can do that.
It's going to be, and when you get the script early, you're reading it, and it's going to build some crazy moment.
Oh,
and you're also trying to figure out how to shoot it too. Which
at the same time, right, you're doing that. But that's another thing that Chuck is always so good at, is he's such a friend to the director. Rarely, and I've worked with a lot of writers in my life, rarely, almost never, had they written me into something I didn't know how to shoot, because they had thought of it.
Right.
Because Chuck had said, well, they can't shoot it that way. So, and every once in a while, something would come up and we'd do a run through, and I'd turn to Chuck and I'd say, I don't think we can have him enter from there and do that joke over there, because then you're going to, and he said, I get it. Don't worry. It'll be different tomorrow. And he's,
So in general, what, as a TV director and multicams, like, for you, what's the most fun you have during a week? Like, what's the thing you love more than anything?
Wow.
Is it the first blocking? Is it tape night? Is it?
Well, there's, this too. There are not a lot of things more fun than a great table read.
Yes.
When we all just literally get to sit and hear it.
Right.
I mean, it's, you can't blame it on the blocking. You can't whatever. It's the words, and I'll read the stage directions, and I'll give those my best.
I was going to say, you're also getting laughs reading the stage directions.
I know, and I'm loving it. But the fact is, when it's a good one, that's really fun.
Yeah.
And then I guess.
And how about when it's a bad one? I tell people this, like, the worst thing you can do as an actor is not give 100% at a table read.
That's right. And you've seen it and I've seen it.
Oh,
and
I could
watch
so many names
sit down and they
walk through it.
When I watched the person sit down with their breakfast in front of them, and that person is making 10 times more money than I am per episode.
Yes.
I'm like, oh God, it's going to be one of those. Okay.
Yeah. I can't tell you the number of actors who have eaten through table readings, eaten salad. Like, there's nothing louder than salad.
Yes.
And they're eating.
Or the ones who admit,
Yeah.
Literally, they get to their first joke.
Whoops, we just froze.
Uh-oh. Hang on.
Hang on.
And then they literally say, "Oh my God, I didn't see that. That's funny. I should have read this." Yeah, you should have read this already.
Yeah. And, you know, we had a very good mutual friend with Harry Anderson.
Yeah.
Who people don't know, he was dyslexic.
Yeah.
And couldn't read, but he would memorize the script for the table read.
Yes.
And I'm not going to mention names, but there were other actors at the night court set who slept through table reads. And Harry never missed a joke. He was on it and he couldn't read.
Right.
And there are some actors who will say, like, I save it for performance night. I save it for tape night. It's like, don't save it. You know,
Harry, I'm glad you brought Harry up. Harry taught me one of the most valuable lessons I ever had as a director. And he and I did Dave's World together. And Dave's World was special for me because that was the first show that I had ever developed and sold. I was there for the first pitch. I was there for the final cuts. Right. I was there for casting, for everything. We were rehearsing one day, probably season 1. And we're doing this moment in the kitchen and we're doing it, and it's not quite working, but I knew it worked. I mean, it's one of my favorite things in that script. And we keep trying it. And I keep saying to Harry, maybe if you try it this way, or maybe if you try it that way. And Harry was not, by his own admission, getting it.
Wow.
He did not get it. And eventually, and I learned this, thank God, he called me into the stage, Jamie, come here. And very quietly, he said, look, it is very clear to me that you know how to make this joke work. Unfortunately, I'm not you.
I can see him saying that.
So unless you can figure out a way to somehow make me understand this, that you haven't already, I say we change the joke. And I looked at him and I said, you're absolutely right. Thank you.
There you go. That's a great lesson.
Yeah, it's like, if there comes a point where, look, my job is to try and incite and, you know, and all that. But if I can't, we got to go another way.
Here's a question. If you found some crazy thing on stage, like off script, some moment, do you go back upstairs and run that by the group before they see it at the run through?
Well, it depends. It depends on my relationship with the writer's room.
Gotcha.
Now, for example, on Dave's World, quite often I would just do it because I was also
there, and
I was an executive producer, and Harry was an executive producer. And if we decided this worked better, I would, when Fred and the gang and the writers would come down, I'd go over to him and said, we changed this a little bit. And invariably they hated that. Because that is a writer.
Oh, I understand their hate.
I know you do. I know you do. I don't do that so much anymore. If I did it, let's say if I ever did it with Chuck, and I think I probably did once or twice, I would have certainly called it up first.
Right. And just run it by them.
But usually what I did was, and I would still do this, I believe it's so important to show the writers what they wrote as best as we can do it.
It's the same thing with actors auditioning. And like when actors start changing lines, it's like, what's wrong with the one I wrote? What's wrong with that?
Yeah, so I do that now. And what we do in rehearsal is I say, look, depending on how that plays, and quite often I did this a lot. We would finish the scene, and then I would sort of step in and say to the writers, or
yeah.
And I'd show them, we thought maybe we could do that.
That seems like the way to do it.
I had a pretty good track record doing it that way.
Yeah. Yeah. That seems like the perfect way to do it. Okay, we're going to take our final break.
Okay, and I'm going to get a plug and plug in my computer. Because I'm looking at the little bar here. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take a break. It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack talking to Jamie Widdoes. We'll be right back.
All right, we're clear. Go ahead and do what you need.
Okay. Yep. All right.
Feel free to just walk around the room, buy some pretzels and a beer. Oh, man.
Okay. Let's see.
As offensive at times as 3.5 Men was, it was still pretty damn funny as hell.
2.5 Men? Oh,
2.5
there's a
Men.
reason why
Oh.
there are certain shows that just run all the time.
Oh, and Night Court the same way. God, that was such a fun show to watch. You know? And of course,
Tim, do you remember I actually did what was meant to be Night Court?
Really?
No.
Riney did a show for CBS.
You want to save this for the broadcast?
Oh, okay.
You want
Okay.
Sure.
Or called Park Place.
Park Place.
I remember the title.
Yeah.
And we were legal aid lawyers.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let me play. Oh, that's right. I got to play a bit here. And here comes the
Greg,
bed.
Greg Garcia just called me.
This is ridiculous. I should go home.
Yeah, I don't think it's a good idea for you to be alone tonight.
And this will be fun, like a slumber party, but for broken people.
My car. It'll be okay. We'll get it in the morning.
All right. Guess I'll stay. Good. You two have a great time. I'll see you tomorrow.
Hey, where do you think you're going?
Home. I sleep better in my own bed.
I know a dozen men who think otherwise.
Come on, you heard her. She's not very fond of me.
That's what I like about her. Stay. So, where's the guest room? Right
Oh.
this way.
Okay, we are back. It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack talking to Jamie Widdoes. That was a clip from Mom, which I want to talk about, the show he directed. But you were just saying, you were talking about Night Court, pre-Night Court.
Oh, well, Reinhold Wigge, who created Night Court,
Yes.
who has passed, sadly. Great writer, came from Barney Miller. I had the pleasure of doing a pilot, I want to say 1981 or 2, called Park Place. And we were legal aid lawyers in downtown New York.
Yeah.
It was basically Barney Miller meets lawyers, and then Night Court was the same lawyers. In fact, we did 6 episodes for CBS, didn't go anywhere. Harold Gould was our Hal Linden was our main.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And Don Calfa, David Clennon.
Yeah.
Wonderful cast.
Yeah.
I ran into Riney a year later when Night Court was going to get picked up, and he said to me, "Hey, you'll never guess what." I said, "What?" He said, "I'm using every Park Place script on Night Court." I've given everybody, and he said, "And your part is Marky Post."
That's really funny.
Yeah.
So let me, I got more things to talk about with you. I'm looking at all my papers, but let's talk about Mom really quickly. And then I got some bigger questions, but like I got to work with Jamie Presley on My Name is Earl, and I worked with Anna Faris on Scary Movie 3. They're both super nice, but Allison Janney, I don't know her at all. She's like, I can't imagine as an actor, not that I am anymore, but working with her would be fantastic, I think. Watching her work.
Well, I had a great little run over there in Laurieland, going from John Cryer and Charlie Sheen at his best, and then Ashton, also great, over to Allison and Anna and Jamie and Mimi Kennedy and Kristen Johnston. But Allison is, Allison, we were all with Allison the morning after she won the Oscar for Tanya.
Right.
At a table read.
Yes.
I mean, I had a little bird. I had props get me a little bird to put on my shoulder, a little turkey for the table read. She is smart. She is funny. She is so deeply caring and thoughtful. And she's just, everybody who gets a chance to work with her is just the luckiest person on the planet.
Can't imagine. So that then begs the question, like, she's an actress I'd love to work with. Is there a show that you never got to do that you wish you had done? So come to mind.
Well, there was a moment, I think, where I was, when I was just coming up, I was talked about for a lot of things.
Well, let me go back to that time, because you and we had a horrible office together. Not a horrible office, but a horrible physical building.
Oh my God.
Next to a pawn shop. This is 1981. I don't know.
Right.
But it was around that time that you started showing interest in directing. And I remember you got a gig on that. There was a company called the Arthur Company that did these budget shows. And then you got an episode of Throb, which was a big deal because it was a syndicated show, and I'm guessing it was Directors Guild. And But you also had, at the time, you had a very good acting career.
Yeah.
You're not a huge megastar, but you had a solid career.
Right. I was paying the bills.
Was your move into directing more based on a creative want or a knowing, if I'm going to go the distance in this industry, this might be better for me?
Okay. Great question and brilliantly phrased.
Thank you.
Yes. Yes to the second part. I did not see myself as a 60-year-old man walking into rooms saying, please like me.
Yes.
Uh,
No, because you'd been in rooms and like
Yeah.
auditioning, and you're looking at these guys who were TV stars at one time, and
Yeah.
now they're reading for 4 lines.
Yeah, yeah. I did not see myself as that. That's one point. But the other point was this, and this is where it gets kind of a little meta. I had gotten where, I'd be doing a show, Charles in Charge,
Yeah.
which was right about when I said, basically, I'd be standing on the stage going, God, I hate it here. I just hate it here. If I hear another actor ask another question, stupid question, instead of just doing it.
Right.
And I would go home and I would say, oh my God, I've started to hate actors. And actually, I didn't hate actors. I hated being an actor.
Right.
I'd done it. And I'd had all the success I ever wanted. I was in a big hit movie. I'd done a Broadway show at that point. I won an award for that. I'd done all of that stuff. And I was genuinely interested in that conversation over there.
Right.
I wanted to be with them saying, I've got a thought for how to help this scene.
Because I remember which we've talked about recently in the last year or so, we did a golf video together with my brother.
We did.
Yeah. And I remember even during the filming of that, you had ideas and we didn't know anything. Nobody knew what we were doing. This guy flew out from Omaha to shoot it. And I knew an orthopedic surgeon who could get us on Brentwood Country Club, but we only had 2 hours. And you knew what you were doing. I remember Pat and I looking at each other like, he knows what he's doing. We got to move quick. And then you went back to Omaha to edit
I went to Omaha.
and it turned out pretty good. I mean, it's still sitting in our closets.
Yeah.
It turned out good. And that's why I wondered about the creative side as well as the long-term career.
Yeah. Well, that was
clearly had an eye.
It was both.
Yeah.
It was both. And you know this. And then there's a little bit the white knuckle period of, well, I make my living as an actor.
Right.
That
was another question. Like when you went on Throb, how nervous were you?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was.
Yeah. But you did have an acting career to go to at the time.
That's right. And that helped me with the actors a lot. And frankly, with the writers too. They all knew, well, he at least knows what's going on the stage really well.
Right.
And it was Saul and Bernie. So, Turtle, Taub, and Ornstein. Right. Perfect. They were so sweet to me. Yeah.
And other actors had fought. Well, Jerry Paris was an actor. He was probably the first to do it. But other guys, Ted Bessel, Peter Bonners, there were lists of actors who went on to have very good directing careers. Yeah. They didn't have the numbers you have.
Well, Ted Wass Ted Wass did it.
Yes.
All of all of those ex-actors, and what I did have, which I was afraid I wouldn't have, was for some reason, and I had worked with some ex-actor directors who really, you could tell they still wanted to be actors.
Yeah, that's not good.
And there was a little bit of bitterness there.
Yeah.
I was so happy to be on the other side.
Yes.
I loved actors again.
I'm the same way. I am so happy to be at Video Village.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's right. I've been in front of the camera on some of my own shows.
Yeah.
Rex Muchnick and David Cohan wrote a part and they said, you have to play this. And I said, no, I don't. Yeah. And they said, yes, you do. I said, no, I don't. Finally, I'm in the scene and I'm literally looking out at, C camera going that way.
That's funny. That's good. No, I recently went back and I did an acting job on a show called, my friends were writers and they said, you got to come in and play this part. So I said, okay, I'll do it. And it was only like 3 or 4 lines, but it was funny and I was horrible. I mean, I was
Right.
bad.
Well, I know.
Couldn't remember the lines. I didn't know if that was old. And I realized it's a muscle unto itself that if you don't exercise,
It gets flabby.
oh, terrible. So before we go, we're wrapping up here, but I want to see if you remember this story. Some of it, I don't think you're going to remember, but we were playing golf up. We used to play public courses all around LA. We're playing up at Los Robles.
The Robles.
The Robles. And Bruce McGill was playing, and he brought Kurt Russell with him.
Yes.
So, who was a movie star? You know, it's like,
yeah.
You know, Jamie was a very working TV guy. Bruce McGill was he was D-Day in Animal House, and I was sort of like in the Groundlings. And
you were in the Groundlings.
I was in the Groundlings. That was
you
my
were Guy D. Simone. Let's face it.
Yeah, America is still remembering. So, but I remember that. I just remember this moment. That a couple of moments from that round, you went into the pro shop, and all of a sudden, this girl is at the other side of the room, and it's like she's starstruck, and she comes walking towards the 4 of us who were signing in, and she's not really looking at one person in particular. She's far enough away. She went, "Excuse me, are you who I think you are?" And Kurt Russell's about to say, and then she's looking at you, and she goes, "You're the dad on Charles in Charge."
I don't remember this at all.
And I remember your face was a combination of like elated and also like, uh-oh, the movie star's pissed right now.
Oh, God.
You didn't know what to do. It was a combination of like, oh, yeah. And then kind of like, oh, I'm sorry, Kurt. And Kurt didn't know who you were, he knew Bruce. Bruce had done a movie with his wife, and that's what got him there. And anyway, we ended up having a fun round of golf with it. He told some crazy stories.
Yeah.
That round of golf.
I do remember that. That's so funny. God.
And then the other thing I remember about that round, going on about it, was we're walking up 18, and there's a man standing up by the green. And I'm looking up, and I said to myself, what is the deputy from Bonanza doing here? And it was his father. Bing Russell had come because I guess he lived in Thousand Oaks, and Kurt said, "I'm playing Los Robles, come and meet me." And they had a little reunion then at the end of our golf round.
Unbelievable. I vaguely remember that too.
Yeah.
Wow. One more, if you got time, one more golf. So I went to Scotland to play golf for my 40th birthday.
Nice.
Tim Matheson was with me, a couple of other friends, guys I grew up with in Pittsburgh, things like that. We get to St. Andrews. There are only 5 of us. So we went off as a threesome, and then they paired the twosome up with somebody else. Tim Matheson and I on that day are the twosome. It's the first tee at St. Andrews, the birthplace of golf.
Right. Very
special, very whatever. Who do they pair us up with? But Mr. and Mrs. Hal Linden.
Get out of here.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. And of course, he didn't know who I was.
Right, I'm sure.
He knew who Tim was. But trust me, by the first green, he knew who we were.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, the coincidence is wild. Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm at the time, you're 40 at that point. Barney Miller's long over.
Yeah.
Sort of like doing that production of South Pacific that you didn't take. That's really funny. That's great.
Yeah.
Hal Linden. You can't write that one. Mr. and Mrs. Hal Linden. Okay, we're done for the day. You can go back to whatever you're doing. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah. I'll see you soon in person.
I'll see you soon in person. Yes, we'll play some golf.
Great.
In fact, Peter is coming on the show with his partner, Jeff.
Great.
Yeah.
Love that.
So, but I'll line that up.
Great. Me too. I've got a good foursome for us.
Okay, great. Okay.
Perfect.
Talk to you soon. Thank you so much.
Thanks, you guys.
See ya.
All right.
Bye. Is he going? Oh, he is going. I was going to try to get a sound bite.
Oh,
That's
sorry.
all right. No, that's all right. It's all right. Can't get them all. Can't get them all. I have to tell you, that was one of the really.
Do I
good
have to say anything like,
Well, usually, but actually, that's not a bad way to end it. Saying, hey,
Okay.
we'll see you. Bye.
Okay.
So, I mean, certainly a standard out for the show would be good.
should I do that now?
We can do that. Yes. Let me pull this over. Yeah. Let me do this and put this over here. And then what I'll do, go down here, over here. All right. And I still have the recording of the video going. That's fine.
Okay.
All right. You ready? And so basically you're closing out the show.
Great.
In 3, 2, 1.
Thank you, Mr. Jamie Widdoes, extraordinaire, director extraordinaire, for being on It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack. Thank you to Jeremiah, our producer, Dr. D, the engineer. It's a treat to be here. Jeremiah Higgins is not here this week, but I'm sure he'll listen and send mean comments. No, I'm kidding. He's only great. And I got another guest coming up next week, which I'll talk about during the week. But anyway, thank you so much for being here. It's Radio with TV's Tim Stack.
All right. Good deal. Good deal.